Good morning, everyone. It's Jen at Ink Paper Rubber. I'm so excited. Today is Tailored Expressions release day, and there is so much fabulous new product in this release. I cannot wait to share it with you. Hopefully you have been following along on their Facebook page or on their blog. They've been sharing sneak peeks all week leading up to release day today. So hopefully you have already seen some of this. But if you haven't, let me take you through what we got. First of all, we have new patriotic stamps and dies and even a stencil in this release. So if you are working on your 4th of July cards or have other patriotic projects you're working on, you'll want to check out the new products. First up is a new stencil. This one is so fun. It's called Light Up the Night, and you can see it is a fireworks background. Makes a great way to create backgrounds for your projects. Hey there, Jan. So that is a really nice new stencil. They also have a new hand-lettered stamp set. This one is called just hand-lettered 4th of July. You can see that there are 4 sentiments on here in this fun hand-lettered font. And I just want to tell you, when I first started stamping, I thought, why do people waste their money on buying sentiment stamps? There's so many other things to get. I'll just write whatever I want on there. Well, I have learned the error of my ways. In my opinion, sentiments are the most valuable stamps that you can own. They just really finish off a project. So many projects are not complete until they have a nice sentiment on them. So I always am a firm believer in snapping up good sentiment sets when you see them, and I think that is a really great one. Next up here we have this new stamp set, which is called Home of the Brave, and you can see that there is this great stamp that has the American flag in the shape of the United States, and there are some sentiments on there. Happy Independence Day, Armed with Love, so this would be great for military projects. Also, thank you for your service. And I just want to point out that I think it was last year, Tailored Expressions came out with this stamp set, which was called Land of the Free, which also had the United States there. And looks like it has From America the Beautiful maybe on it. And there was also a die that cut out the map of the United States. Here you can see a sample with that one. Well, not too surprisingly, because we are talking about Tailored Expressions and they are always so good with this, this die will also cut out this map of the United States as well. So if you got those last year, just know that it will work with that one perfectly. Next up, talking about things that go together, they have a new entry in their Banner Year set. They introduced the Banner Year in the last release. And this is a stamp and die combo set. This was the one from the last release. You can see it has these fun little backgrounds. It also has a solid banner. And then it has a banner die so that you can stamp those backgrounds and then use that banner to cut them out. And then there are sentiments that go on there. Well, now they have a new one for the 4th of July. There are 3 new backgrounds. There is a new banner shape. You can see this one is curved at the bottom. You also get a die that says USA and some stars. We also have some fireworks stamps on here, as well as a couple of sentiment stamps. And these will work together. So you can use this die shape to cut out these backgrounds if you want. You can mix and match them. So I always like it when there's products that work with products that have come out previously. This is, I think, the one thing that I have to show you that's not new, but I did want to let you know that we got the Simple Strips background stamp back in stock, as well as the die that cuts all those out. And we have a really fun make and take coming up for you, not this week, maybe the next week, that does a 4th of July card and uses this, but without any sentiments on it. So there's lots of ways that you can use that besides the really obvious of cutting this out. And I also want to remind you, I'm not sure when it's coming out, but there are rumors that there is going to be a new background stamp set with new sentiments that will work with this. Also point out that you may have other sentiments that will work with these. If you have small, long, skinny sentiments, you can use them on there. And in fact, I believe I'm going to show you a sample in a minute where they have used the Happy Independence Day from this set on one of the banner strips. Next up, we have this fun background stamp. It's called Create in Color, and you can see it is just a background of all these, I want to call them colored pencils, but that all depends on how you color it. You can see it's just all these pencils, and I've got a really amazing sample to show you here at the end of the video. I'm also really excited about this. Is a new die. It is a Gatefold Reveal die, and when you look at it, it doesn't look like all that much, but it makes this really amazing gatefold card that when you open it up, the center of it slides open to reveal your sentiment or an image on the inside, and I'll show you a sample of that. This is a really good companion to that die, although it could work for other things as well. It's called the Better Half Cutting Plate, and you get 2 dies in it. You can see it just cuts these stripes. One of them is diagonal and one of them is horizontal. They work perfectly with this one when you create a gatefold card, or you can even create your own gatefold card and use it on that. Next up is another background stamp. This is a really fun stamp called Wildflower Background. I've seen some really amazing samples using this. If you love to color, there's lots of coloring that you can do here, but I've seen some samples where they have used it where you only have to do minimal or no coloring and still get a really great image. So even if you're not big on coloring, you might want to check that one out. I'm also, speaking of coloring, really excited because there are 3 new liquid watercolor colors. You know how much I love my watercolors, and these are some really great colors. Blue Raspberry, which is one of their newish colors, that is a deeper turquoise than Cookie Monster, which is one of our favorite colors. So Blue Raspberry is a really great color. There is also Lime Zest, which is a really great limey green. And finally, Pineapple, which I really like Pineapple. It's yellow, but it's got just the tiniest hint of orange to it, and it's a cardstock color that I use a lot, so I'm really happy that we now have the liquid watercolor in that color as well. All of these are great colors for your summer projects. All right, the last group I'm going to show you is among my favorites of this new release. It is some new beach and themed stamps and other products, and there's lots of really fun things in here. The first one is called Floaties, and you can see we have all these little creatures in all these fun little pool floaties. There you have an otter. Here you've got the little dragon floaty, a unicorn floaty, of course a flamingo floaty with a little bear, and there's some really fun sentiments in there. And there is a die set that goes with that as well. This stamp set, I cannot tell you how much I love this one. This is Be a Mermaid, and this is really great because you get a solid mermaid tail stamp, and then you get 3 patterned mermaid tails. So you can stamp your background color and then stamp the pattern tails on top of that. You also have some nice shell stamps and several sentiments that go with it. And there is a die set, and this die set is really multi-purpose because you can use the solid tail to cut out your stamped image from there, but there is also an overlay, so if you want to, you can use the die just by itself and don't even have to use the stamp set. You also get dies to cut out the shell stamps that come with the stamp set. This is another really great stamp set. This one is called Build a Background, and this one is waves, and so you can see here that you have your ocean waves, and then you have your beach here, and I love you have this little stamp even to kind of do the edge of the beach so that you can do that a little bit darker if you want. There we have, if you want to stamp that in the sand to give it a little texture, we have some splashes, and what's really great is that this stamp set comes with 2 dies. And what those dies allow you to do is, you can see here where the yellow is, you can use those to actually cut a little slit in those waves so that you can tuck something down in the waves if you want to. So that will be great with the mermaid tail and also with the Floaties stamp set to tuck those in there into the waves. We have a couple of new background stamps that fit in perfectly with this theme. This one is called Make a Splash Background. You can see all those fun splashes. And this one is called Rainbow Waves. Like that one a lot as well. And last but not least, we have 2 new stencils. This one is called Sweet Scallop, and of course when you look at that you see mermaid tail, so that's going to go perfectly with the Be a Mermaid stamp set. And this one is the Splash stencil, And I want to point something out because I love it when companies are very thoughtful in their designs and make things so that you can use them in multiple ways. This splash background stamp is what I call a negative background, meaning that when you ink it up, you are inking up the background, not the pattern itself. If you look at it, you can see the pattern is actually cut into the stamp. So whatever ink color you use is going to end up being your background. But if you take the splash stencil, you will see that it lines up perfectly with the openings in this stamp. So that allows you to combine the stamp and the stencil together if you want to create some really fun backgrounds. Of course, you can also use both of them on their own, but it really makes it multi-purpose when companies design their products that way. All right, let me get to the good stuff and show you some samples. First of all, here you can actually see the new banner stamp set. You can see they've stamped the backgrounds and cut them out. They've used the USA and the stars to make this fun banner. And there in the background, they have the new Home of the Brave stamp. Yep, that splash stencil is pretty amazing. Here is, we're going to kind of jump around. This one shows you the mermaid tail there. You can see that fun stamp that they've used, and then they've also used the sweet scallop background to make that pretty rainbow background. But here is one where they have actually used, so if you can see that, they have just used the die. They haven't used the mermaid tail stamp. They've just created some pretty papers and die cut from that, and then they've also used, it looks like, the rainbow waves background stamp to create that fun background. Here we are jumping over to the Gatefold Reveal and also the Better Half. You can see there how they've cut those diagonal panels, use them to decorate the outside of that. And here, I think you can see when you open up what this card does. You can see as you open that card, that center portion is actually opening up to reveal that sentiment on the inside. So it's a fun interactive card. Here is a cute sample showing the Build a Background waves along with the little floaties, and you can see how they've used the die to cut the opening in there to tuck the little floaty down. You can see how nice using all the different pieces of that stamp really gives some nice texture and dimension to that background. Here is the Create in Color stamp. Isn't that gorgeous? It looks like maybe they've used some of their liquid watercolors to create that background, and some amazing coloring on those pencils. Here is another cute sample using the Floaties stamp set, and there you can also see in the background probably, I'm going to guess that was maybe using the stencil to do that background since it's dark on light, or they may have actually used both of them together, not really sure. Here is another sample showing the Home of the Brave stamp, and it's been cut out with the die cut. And there is one of the sentiments from the new hand-lettered 4th of July. And I also might point out the stencil in the background. I think it's called the Here Comes the Sun stencil. We have had that back in stock several times, and so if you have picked that up recently, it makes a great stencil to use with your 4th of July projects. Here, speaking of stencils, is the Light Up the Night stencil, and this is just a really simple one. They've just done a panel with the stencil. They've stamped the Happy Independence Day, and it looks there like they've used the Simple Strips die to cut out that sentiment and just put it on that card, and super easy but really, really nice. Here is an example from the Make a Splash background stamp, and it looks to me like they probably come in and maybe use the stencil as well. Not really sure. It looks like maybe they may even have white embossed that background. Definitely, if you haven't checked out their blog, you should go check them out, because most of the designers give you lots of instructions on how they created their projects. Here's another one with the Floaties, a cute little shaker card, and also the Rainbow Waves background. And last but not least, here is the Wildflowers background. And remember how I told you if you really don't like to do a lot of detailed coloring, this one just looks like a really simple watercolor background. They haven't thought too much, just put a bunch of color down and then stamp those flowers over it. And I think that's really, really pretty. All right, that is it. We have all of these great products available right now, so if you see something you like, I hope you will take some time to stop by and check it all out. Hope you all have a good rest of your day, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Goodbye.